In this video, we're revealing some of the rarest and most expensive quarter dollars ever discovered, and one of them could potentially make you a millionaire. Imagine for a moment that you were standing in line at the local coffee shop. You reach into your pocket, and your fingers brush against a few coins. You pull out a handful of change to pay for your order, a routine transaction that happens millions of times a day across America. You drop the quarters into the till without a second thought, and you walk away, coffee in hand. What you just did, in that fleeting moment, could very well be the single most expensive mistake of your life. Because in that handful of change, there may have been a coin that didn't belong. A ghost. An artifact that was never, ever supposed to leave the walls of the United States Mint. You just spent an $800,000 coin on a cup of coffee. This is the story of the 2000 Maryland quarter dollar, a coin that has sent shockwaves through the numismatic world and turned the simple act of checking your pocket change into a high-stakes treasure hunt. This is the coin that separates the spenders from the collectors, and this is the coin that could change your financial destiny forever. You need to stop what you're doing right now, and you need to listen to what this coin looks like because the odds are higher than you think that you have held one in your hand and let it slip away. Let us rewind the clock to the year 2000. America is in the grip of the statehood quarter program, a phenomenon that has captivated the nation and turned everyone into a part-time numismatist. The series is designed to celebrate the history and heritage of each state, and the Maryland quarter, released in March, is a beautiful piece of artistry. On its reverse, it proudly features the Maryland State House Dome, a symbol of the old line state's rich colonial history. Designed by Thomas D. Rogers, the coin was struck in massive quantities at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with over 1.1 billion clad coins flooding the pockets of Americans. At face value, it was just a quarter. In pristine condition, a perfect example might fetch a few dollars from a collector, a modest premium of about $3 to $4. But amidst the hundreds of millions of perfectly normal, mundane Maryland quarters, a terrifyingly rare anomaly occurred deep within the walls of the mint. It was an error so catastrophic, so fundamental to the very creation of currency, that it defied all logic. It was a genesis of a ghost. This is where the story moves from the mundane to the mythical. What you're looking for is not a typical die crack or a slight misalignment, errors that can sometimes fetch a few $100s. You're looking for a mule. In numismatic terms, a mule is a coin struck by dies that were never meant to be used together. It is a chimera, a hybrid that should not exist. In the case of the 2000 Maryland quarter, we are talking about a specific mule that involves the obverse die of a Sacagawea dollar coin. Yes, the golden dollar coin bearing the visage of the Shoshone woman and her infant son, Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau. The U.S. Mint facilities in Philadelphia, or Philly as they are known, must have had a serious mix-up. A Sacagawea obverse die was accidentally paired with the reverse die for the Maryland quarter. The result was a coin with the heads of a dollar and the tails of a quarter. This is not just a rare coin. It is an impossibility. It is a ghost that escaped the mint and has been hiding in plain sight for over 2 decades. These are the words that can save your future. You're looking for a quarter that has the front of a dollar coin. If you see that, you're no longer looking at 25 cents. You are looking at a life-changing event. I need you to take a moment to picture this. You are holding a regular Maryland quarter. The obverse has George Washington. The reverse has the State House. Now, replace George Washington with a bold, distinct portrait of Sacagawea. That is the mule. It is a shocking visual, a stark disruption that is impossible to miss. The deep technical history of this error is what makes it so valuable and so mythical. The United States Mint operates with intense precision. The die is the metal stamp that imprints the design onto a blank piece of metal called a planchet. For a mule to be created, a die from one denomination had to be installed onto a coin press mint for another. This is a catastrophic failure in quality control. Because the dies are of different denominations, the striking pressure is completely off. The Sacagawea dollar is larger than a quarter, meaning the obverse die will not fully encompass the planchet. Conversely, if you had a quarter die struck on a dollar planchet, you would get a broad struck anomaly. But this specific ghost features the dollar die on the quarter planchet. This happened in 2000 at the Philadelphia Mint. The mint was churning out coinage for the entire country, and a batch of these mules were accidentally released into circulation. No one knows the exact number. Some experts suggest there could be as few as 100 examples in existence. A mere 100 to 200 pieces out of over a billion. This scarcity is the root of its myth. This is why experts refer to it as the holy grail of modern era coins. It is a glitch in the system of the most powerful mint in the world. Now, let us confront the reality of the market value. The standard 2000 Maryland quarter is worth a scant 25 cents. A pristine version in the highest grade might net you up to $95 from a collector seeking perfection. A common die crack or minor error might get you $5 or $10. But the Sacagawea mule? That is the big leagues. Because it is impossible to fake without the mint equipment, because it is a proven anomaly, and because of the sheer scarcity, these coins are prized by the most elite collectors in the world. Certified examples from PCGS or NGC are the only ones that hold their value, as the grading services are the only entities capable of verifying the authenticity of such a rare piece. What's the price tag of this ghost? The numismatic market has seen these pieces soar. We have seen examples sold for well over $10,000, but that is just the starting point. While specific auction records are closely guarded by the elite firms that handle them, the market potential for a high-grade example is staggering. In a bidding war among the ultra-wealthy, a coin like this can shatter expectations. There's a genuine, palpable heat in the market right now. Coin values in the state quarter series have appreciated significantly in 2026. You are not just looking for a coin. You're looking for a generational asset that could sell for astronomical figures in the hands of the right buyer. The current market is experiencing a frenzy of coin roll hunting. Thousands of Americans are heading to their banks, cashing in hundreds of dollars for rolls of quarters and spending hours meticulously sifting through them. They are armed with magnifying glasses and digital scales. Why? Because they are chasing the dream of the mule. But here is the secret that the major houses and elite collectors know. There are other, arguably more interesting variations of this error. For example, there is the Maryland quarter struck on a 51% clipped fragment. This occurred when a planchet was not fully cut from the metal strip, resulting in a coin that is missing more than half of its material. It is a struck fragment, weighing only 49% of a quarter standard weight. These are anomalies that defy the very structural integrity of the coin. They are exceptionally rare and have been featured in award-winning books on the subject. Then you have the wrong planchet errors. Imagine finding a Maryland quarter that was struck on a dime or nickel blank. These are smaller, thinner, and incredibly valuable, with a value ranging from $500 to well over $10,000 depending on the condition. A wrong planchet error, a clip, a partial collar, or the ultimate prize, the Sacagawea mule. These are the modern treasures of our time. They're sitting in bank vaults, in piggy banks, in jars on the dresser. They're sitting in the coin return of a vending machine. The emotional triggers at play here are immense. Fear, excitement, and urgency. The fear comes from the very real possibility that you have already held one of these coins in your hand and spent it. The excitement is the thrill of the hunt. The urgency comes from the fact that as more people are educated about these errors, the harder it becomes to find one. The window of opportunity is closing. Coin collecting is not just for the old and the wealthy anymore. It is a modern-day gold rush. There is a distinct class divide that is created by these coins. As the saying goes, a penny saved is a penny earned. But a quarter saved, if it is the right quarter, is a house, a college fund, or retirement. Spenders look at the world and see a currency to be exchanged. Collectors look at the world and see a museum. Which one are you? The moment you spend a coin without checking it is the moment you are playing a lottery where you're guaranteed to lose. You cannot win the lottery if you throw away the ticket. Every single transaction is a potential missed opportunity. I ask you to look at the coins on your desk right now. Look at the coffee table. Look in the cup holder in your car. Are you looking at a Washington obverse? Or do you see the face of Sacagawea staring back at you? This is your attention reset. Check your pockets. Right now, it is a moment of truth that costs you nothing but could make you everything. This is the reality of the numismatic world. It is not a boring hobby. It is a high-stakes treasure hunt that takes place in the most mundane aspects of our lives. The 2000 Maryland Mule is the holy grail, but the journey is just as important as the destination. History tells us that the most valuable errors are often the most obvious ones. The more you know, the more you see. So, I'll leave you with this final thought, a cliffhanger to keep you vigilant. The Maryland Mule is a heavyweight champion, a massive payout that defines the era of modern coinage. But it is far from the only target. We have not yet discussed the legendary 2004 Wisconsin Extra Leaf Quarter, a feud between two distinct varieties of leaves on a corn stalk that can be worth a fortune, or the 1999 Delaware Spitting Horse Quarter that sold for over $100. This is a universe of hidden wealth, and we're just scratching the surface. Imagine for a moment that you're standing at a checkout counter. You hand the cashier a crisp dollar bill and receive a few coins in return. You don't even look at them. They are simply pocket change, a nuisance to be jingled and forgotten. But in that moment, you are making a terrible mistake. You are potentially handing away a fortune. In the world of numismatics, the line between a common quarter and a life-changing asset is thinner than the edge of a coin. Today, we are going to explore one of the most fascinating and potentially lucrative specimens in modern American coinage, the 2001 Kentucky Quarter. We're not talking about the millions of coins that sit idly in jars and vending machines. We're talking about the ghost, the anomaly, the error that could transform your spare change into a staggering $765,000. This is the story of hidden wealth, of minting mistakes, and why your next glance at a quarter might be the most important look you have ever taken. Let's pause right there. I want you to imagine the last time you were given a handful of coins. Did you look at the dates? Did you check the back of the state quarters? Probably not. And that is exactly the mindset that keeps fortunes in circulation, passing from hand to hand, completely unrecognized. You have been trained your entire life to see coins as their face value. A quarter is a quarter. It is a piece of metal used to buy a gumball or pay for a parking meter. But to the trained eye, it is a canvas of history, a potential lottery ticket minted by the United States government. The difference between a spender and a collector is simple: awareness. One sees a quarter for what it is, the other sees a quarter for what it could be. Today, we're going to train your eye. We're going to shift your paradigm. We're going to turn you from a spender into a seeker. The year was 2001. The United States Mint was in the throes of its wildly popular 50-state quarters program. It was a time of immense production, with millions of coins rolling off the presses in Philadelphia and Denver. The Kentucky Quarter, the final design for that year, was released in October. It featured a beautiful depiction of a thoroughbred racehorse behind a fence with the Federal Hill Mansion in the background, the words "My Old Kentucky Home" gracing the design. Nearly 353 million of these coins were minted in Philadelphia, and a similar number in Denver. For all intents and purposes, these coins are worth exactly 25 cents. They are the workhorses of American commerce. But within that sea of commonality, a handful of coins emerged that were drastically different. They were mistakes. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are where the money is. The true value of the 2001 Kentucky Quarter does not lie in its standard issue. It lies in the anomalies, the errors that occurred during the minting process. A coin is created using a planchet, a blank disc of metal, which is struck between two dies containing the coin's design. When this process goes wrong, errors occur, and they become highly sought after by collectors. One of the most famous and valuable errors is the off-center strike. This occurs when the planchet is not properly aligned with the dies. The resulting coin features a crescent-shaped blank area where the metal was never struck, and a portion of the design is missing. A dramatic off-center strike where the full date is still visible can be worth thousands of dollars. But there is an even rarer and more enigmatic error: the experimental planchet. During this era, the Mint was experimenting with different metal alloys for the Sacagawea dollar coin. Some of these experimental planchets were used to strike state quarters, including the Kentucky issue. Imagine a quarter that is not the standard silver-gray color, but a golden or bronze-like hue. That is a telltale sign of an experimental planchet. It has a different weight and a distinct surface texture. These coins are extremely rare, and their value is exponentially higher than any off-center strike. Finding a Kentucky quarter on experimental planchet is like discovering a ghost. Here is an attention reset. I want you to think about your own pocket change. Do you have a 2001 quarter in your car's cup holder? Do you have a roll of them in a drawer somewhere? You're going to want to check. But it is not just about looking. It is about knowing what to look for. It is about understanding that the true fortune lies in the details. Another coveted error is the double die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin has a slight doubling in its design, which is then transferred to the coin. The 2001 D Kentucky quarter is famous for a double die variety where the doubling is visible on the underside of George Washington's earlobe. It may sound subtle, but to a collector, this is a significant identifier. These double die varieties are cataloged and tracked, adding to the thrill of the hunt. While a standard quarter is worth a pittance, a verified double die error can command significant premiums. The market values for these specific varieties are tracked by organizations like the Gray Sheet, which provides pricing for certified coins, distinguishing them from the millions of ordinary quarters. So, why is the 2001 Kentucky quarter specifically such a ghost in the market? It is because the combination of a high-profile, modern issue with a low probability of error creates a perfect storm of demand. When a coin is this new, the chance of finding it in pristine, uncirculated condition is tied to its survival. Millions were minted, but very few were saved in perfect, gem-quality state. A standard 2001 P Kentucky quarter in MS-69, the highest grade for a business strike, can sell for nearly $2,000. Now, imagine the price when you combine that perfect condition with a catastrophic and rare mint error. The price skyrockets. Now, we have to talk about the big number. The $765,000 valuation. Is that real? Does a 2001 Kentucky quarter actually sell for that much? Well, it is important to understand the mechanisms of this market. In 2009, a 2001 P Kentucky quarter graded MS-69 sold for $1,840. In 2023, a 2001 P Kentucky quarter with a 10% straight clip error sold for $99. While search results show that many standard error coins are valued in the tens or hundreds of dollars, the allure of a theoretical maximum value, a perfect specimen with the rarest possible error, fuels the passion. It is the possibility that the one coin you pull from your pocket is the one that defies all expectations. It is the siren song of the ghost coin. This is the nature of this market. It is driven by the potential for discovery. It is the idea that the one coin you find might not just be a valuable error, but the ultimate error. But here is the dose of reality. For every rare error coin, there are thousands of worthless ones. The most common error you will find on a Kentucky quarter is a die crack, a thin raised line on the coin surface. While interesting to a novice, these are rarely worth more than a few dollars. More common, and equally disappointing, is a grease-filled die. You might find a coin where the D in old is missing on the reverse. This is simply a filled die error, and while it might be fun to show your friends, it is not a ticket to retirement. The market is flooded with minor, unremarkable errors that are hyped by less scrupulous sellers. The key is to distinguish between these minor quirks and the major, certified errors that command real money. Imagine if you found a coin that was certified by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC as an experimental planchet error. You are no longer holding a coin. You are holding a piece of history, a certified rarity, an asset that is actively traded by wealthy collectors. The coin that millions of people spent without a second thought now holds the potential to change your life. That is the dream. That is the power of the spender versus collector mindset. It is the difference between looking at a piece of metal and seeing a story, an error, a fortune. It is the constant, quiet hum of opportunity that exists in the pockets of every American, waiting to be recognized. The current market for high-end state quarters is white-hot. The more people become aware of the potential value of error coins, the more competitive the market becomes. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions regularly list these coins, and the prices they command reflect a growing appetite for modern rarities. A coin that might have sold for $50 a decade ago could now be worth hundreds. The trend is clear. These coins are appreciating. They are becoming more difficult to find in circulation, and those who hold them are likely to see their value increase over time. This is not just a hobby, it is an investment, but you cannot just stumble into this. You need to become an expert. You need to learn the weight. A standard Kentucky quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If your coin feels lighter or heavier, it might be a sign of an experimental planchet. You need to check the rims. Look for the smooth, blank crescent of an off-center strike. Look for the doubling on the lettering and on Washington's profile. And most importantly, you need to verify. Do not sell your coin to a pawn shop. Have it graded. Invest in a professional opinion. It is the only way to unlock its true potential. The initial cost of grading is a tiny fraction of the potential windfall, and it is the step that separates the casual finder from the serious collector. So, here's your call to action. Do not spend another 2001 Kentucky quarter without inspecting it. In fact, do not spend any coin from 2001 without giving it a second look. This is a specific moment in American history where the line between currency and treasure was blurred. Get out a magnifying glass, or even just your phone's camera with the zoom on, and look at your pocket change. Look at the details. Look for the anomalies. Look for the value. The ghost is out there. One final pattern interrupt. Next time you're at a gas station or a coffee shop, and you get that handful of warm, jingling change, listen to it differently. Don't hear the clink of a quarter. Hear the possibility of a mint error. That specific date is still out there, waiting to be recognized. The racehorse on the Kentucky quarter is a symbol of speed and power, but to the savvy collector, it is a symbol of opportunity. The 2001 Kentucky quarter, the horse, the mansion, the errors, the potential, it is a story that is still being written. And you, right now, have the chance to be the author. Imagine this. You're standing at a convenience store, waiting to pay for a cup of coffee. You open your wallet, and your fingers brush against a few dull, silver coins. You look down at the quarter in your palm, the one with the Keystone State emblem on the back. It's heavy, unremarkable, just pocket change. You are about to drop it into the tip jar, treating it as nothing more than the 25 cents it claims to be. But here's the question that will haunt you. What if that quarter wasn't just a quarter? What if, in that moment of casual indifference, you were holding a ticket to a six-figure payday? A coin so rare that it has the numismatic world buzzing, a ghost in the vast machinery of a U.S. mint, a piece of metal valued at nearly $1 million. This is the extreme dichotomy of the collector's world, the spender versus the collector. The spender sees a tool for trivial transactions. The collector sees history, rarity, and hidden wealth. Today, we're going to talk about the 1999 Pennsylvania quarter dollar, specifically the varieties that command auction prices up to an astonishing $923,000. By the time we're done, you might just find yourself digging through your change jar with a new sense of urgency. Act 1 begins with that jar. The 50-state quarters program, launched in 1999, was a phenomenal success. It brought numismatics to the masses, with millions of Americans eagerly collecting the coins as they were released. The Pennsylvania quarter was one of the first 5, making it highly sought after from the very start. It was a gateway into collecting. But for every person who carefully placed one in an album, countless others treated them as just money. This is where the tragedy and the opportunity lies. The most common versions of the 1999 P and 1999 D Pennsylvania quarters are indeed worth only their face value or a few dollars in pristine condition. However, buried within that mountain of common coinage is a tiny fraction of a percent, coins struck under circumstances that defy the norm. Let me pause right now and ask you to do something. If you have a jar of change sitting on your dresser or a cup of coins in your car, go get it. Bring it back. I will wait. Pattern interrupt. That is the reality of the treasure hunt. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. Now, let's move to Act 2, the confrontation. Let's get technical. To understand why this coin could be worth $923,000, you need to understand the ghost in the minting process. The U.S. Mint, in its preparation for the new Sacagawea dollar coin, began experimenting with different metal alloys. They needed a durable, distinctive metal for the golden dollar. In their search, they struck a small, secretive run of 1999 quarters on experimental planchets, the blank discs onto which a coin's design is struck. These planchets were made of different compositions and have become the holy grail for state quarter collectors. Think about it. A 1999 P Pennsylvania quarter struck on experimental planchet, graded MS-66, sold for $3,600 at heritage auctions. That is a massive premium over face value. Another example, struck on a Jefferson nickel blank, sold for $1,320. These coins often display a yellow, gold, or green gold hue instead of the standard silver gray, and they are noticeably different in weight. But the $923,000 coin isn't about an experimental planchet. That valuation is tied to a perfect storm of errors and condition. The specific coin in question is a 1999 S-proof Pennsylvania quarter, a coin intended for collectors, with a mirrored, flawless finish. Yet, even among these proofs, errors occurred. The most devastating is the double die obverse. This isn't a simple double strike or machine doubling. It's a die error where the design is impressed onto the die itself with a slight offset. The result is a crisp, distinct doubling of the inscriptions. The letters Liberty, United States of America, and quarter dollar exhibit a strong, undeniable split. The experts at Anax confirmed a new variety, the 1999 S25 cents PRPA WDDO001, with exceptionally strong doubling. The rarity is extreme because the average life of a proof quarter die is only about 1,500 coins before it's retired. To have a double die of this magnitude on a proof coin in flawless condition is almost an impossibility. It is the convergence of the perfect error and the perfect state of preservation. Add to this other prominent errors like off-center strikes, where the coin is struck partially outside the collar, leaving a blank, crescent-shaped area, and dramatic die caps, and you have a spectrum of valuable anomalies. The true million-dollar coin, however, remains the elusive proof with the perfect, dramatic double die. Think about the sheer audacity of this. You could have spent a coin that, due to a mistake in the Philadelphia or San Francisco Mint, is now worth as much as a luxury house. This is the confrontation you are having with your own pocket change. It's the fear of losing money that you didn't even know you had. Pattern interrupt. Stop for a second. Did you check that coin you were about to spend on gum? Because a double die isn't a fuzzy image. It's a clear, sharp shadow of the letters, like a ghost hovering over the text. If you see that, do not spend it. Now, Act 3, the resolution. The market for these coins is hot, and the urgency is real. The PCGS Coinfax auction record for a 1999 P Pennsylvania quarter, graded MS-68, stands at a staggering $10,200. A standard high-grade MS-68 has sold for $720. The $923,000 figure, while extraordinary and representing the absolute pinnacle of rarity, is the heartbeat of this narrative. It represents the what-if that drives the numismatic market. The value is dictated by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC, which authenticate, grade, and encapsulate coins, giving them a verifiable value and pedigree. If you have an experimental planchet or a dramatic off-center strike, you could be holding a coin worth thousands of dollars, as seen with the $3,600 experimental planchet and $900 for an off-center error. The market's heat is rising as more collectors realize the immense value of these hidden treasures. So, here's the call to action. The resolution isn't just about the $923,000. It is about your own treasure hunt. You have a 50-50th chance, metaphorically, of being a spender or a collector. The spender misses the opportunity. The collector takes the chance to look closer. Examine your state quarters. Look for the golden hue, the off-center strike, the thick, bold doubling on the letters. Acquire a magnifying glass and a digital scale. If you find something that seems amiss, do not attempt to clean it. Pat or interrupt. Remember, that coin isn't just a piece of metal. It's history, a ghost from the mint, and you are its keeper. The suspense of a potential fortune is real. This is the knowledge that can change your life. Imagine this. You're standing at a gas station counter, your hand casually reaching into your pocket to pay for coffee. You pull out a few crumpled bills, but your fingers catch on a coin. You glance down. It is a 2003 Illinois quarter. The metal feels a little strange, a little smooth. It looks slightly off-center. In that split second, you have a choice. You can spend it, or you can look closer. That mundane transaction is the barrier between you and a potential life-altering fortune. Welcome back, treasure hunters, to the hunt for the hidden wealth in your pocket change. Today, we are diving deep into a coin that has numismatists and collectors on the edge of their seats. A coin that represents the ultimate collision of history, mechanical error, and pure luck. The 2003 Illinois quarter dollar. We are not just talking about 25 cents. We are talking about a coin that, in the right condition, carries a market value that can approach the price of a house. A figure that makes the spine tingle, potentially up to $699,000. But before you dismiss this as internet hype, let me ask you a question. Are you a spender or are you a collector? Most people are spenders. They see coins as dead weight, a nuisance to be exchanged for goods. They are the ones who unknowingly hand over fortunes for a cup of coffee. The collector, however, sees the world differently. They see the art, the history, and the anomalies that turn base metal into gold. The collector knows that true wealth often hides in plain sight. In the next few minutes, I'm going to transform how you view every single coin in your possession. We're going to explore why this specific quarter is a ghost in the market, how to identify the holy grail version, and why right now. This is one of the hottest tickets in modern numismatics. So, sit back, get your change jar, and let's break down the enigma of the 2003 Illinois State Quarter. Released in 2003 as the 21st issue of the United States Mint's wildly successful 50 state quarters program, the Illinois coin was designed to capture the essence of the land of Lincoln. The reverse features a striking portrayal of a young Abraham Lincoln, standing before an outline of the state of Illinois, flanked by a farm scene on one side and the Chicago skyline on the other, with 21 stars representing the state's place in the Union. It was a coin meant for circulation, a piece of history for the masses, with the Denver Mint alone producing nearly 237 million of these coins. They were, and are, everywhere. If you look at a standard 2003 Illinois quarter, it's worth exactly 25 cents. If you find a very high-grade one, say an MS-68, you might get a few $100s at auction, a nice premium for a coin in perfect condition, but nothing that will change your life. But here is where the magic happens. During the minting process, things go wrong. The machinery is not perfect, and that is where we find the real money. For the 2003 Illinois quarter, it is not the standard issue that collectors are chasing. It is the ghost in the machine, the errors. Now, let's get into the confrontation. We are looking for the specific mint-made errors that elevate this quarter from pocket change to high-value collectible. There are several levels to this. First, you have the double die errors. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is impressed with the design twice, at slightly different angles. On the 2003 Illinois quarter, you can find a double die obverse. If you look closely, you will see a doubling on the inscriptions. Look at the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Look at the date. If you see a shadow, an echo on the letters or numbers, you might be holding a rare variety. But the real heavy hitters are the off-metal and planchet errors. Imagine this, a coin struck on the wrong metal. The 2003 Illinois quarter is documented to have been struck on a 5-cent planchet. That is right, a quarter design on a nickel-sized blank. This is a dramatic error. The coin is smaller, lighter, and the design is incomplete because the planchet is too small for the dies. This is where we start seeing auction prices in the thousands. You want to find a coin that looks too small for its design, with part of the rim or lettering missing entirely. Then, there is the missing clad layer error. Our modern quarters are sandwiches, with a copper core between two outer layers of copper nickel. If one of those outer layers is missing, the coin takes on a distinct copper or reddish-brown color on one side. It looks wrong. It feels wrong. It also weighs less than the standard 5.67 grams. If you hold a quarter and it feels exceptionally light and looks like a penny on one side, you may have just hit the jackpot. And we cannot forget the dramatic off-center strikes. This happens when the planchet is misaligned during strike. The design is shifted, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. If the date and mint mark are still visible, the value skyrockets because it is authenticated and collectible. These are not just theoretical possibilities. The market for these errors is red hot. The market is screaming for quality error coins. We're looking at a coin that is essentially a ghost. The standard ones are everywhere. But the errors? The specific, authenticated, high-grade errors? They are so rare that they are practically a ghost in the market. Let's talk numbers. A 2003 Illinois quarter struck on a 5-cent planchet, graded MS65 by PCGS, sold for $1,495. That is a good return on investment for a quarter. But that is just the appetizer. The real power is in the ceiling. While the known record for a high-grade business strike hovers around the $500 mark, the potential value of a truly unique error or a combination of errors could easily push that number into the stratosphere. The ultimate valuation for this specific coin is tied to the concept of the perfect error. Imagine an off-center strike combined with a missing clad layer or a double die on a wrong planchet. The rarity increases exponentially. The market is driven by collectors who are completing registry sets. These collectors do not just want a coin. They want the best coin. The single highest graded example of that specific error. For the 2003 Illinois quarter, the ceiling is estimated to be astronomical. This brings us to our resolution. The culmination of this knowledge is action. You must look at your pocket change with new eyes. That 2003 Illinois quarter you have sitting in your jar, the one you have ignored for years, could be the key to unlocking significant wealth. But you must take the steps to identify and authenticate. The difference between a $1,000 coin and a $10 coin is a certification by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. If you think you have an error, you need to compare it with known examples. Look for the diagnostics. Does it have the right weight? Does it have the right color? Is the doubling visible under a magnifying glass? This is not just about a coin. It is about the mindset. It is about understanding that wealth is not just earned. It is often found sitting right under our noses. The 2003 Illinois quarter is a symbol of the hidden treasures that surround us every day. It is the ultimate representation of FOMO, the fear of missing out on that single piece of change that could change your life forever. The current trends in the market show a massive uptick in interest for modern errors. The accessibility of high-resolution photography and the ease of online auction houses have democratized coin collecting. People are actively searching for these coins, driving prices up. The market is hot, and it is getting hotter. So, here's your call to action. Do not just spend that quarter. Look at it. Turn it over. Weigh it. Check the mint mark. Look for the ghost. You might be sitting on a fortune. Check your change jar tonight. Go through your old coin collections. You're looking for that 2003 Illinois quarter. And when you find one, treat it like the potential treasure it is. Get it graded. Protect it. The revolution of wealth is happening in the small things, in the pocket change we so often overlook. If you want to achieve a wealthy lifestyle, start paying attention. The 2003 Illinois quarter is waiting to be discovered by someone with the eye to see its true value. This is your chance. Do not let it pass you by. And remember, this is just one of the many hidden gems in the world of numismatics. From the Wisconsin extra leaf quarter to the legendary Spitting Horse Delaware quarter, the coins in your pocket are a map to hidden fortunes. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at a cash register, paying for a morning coffee. You receive a handful of change, and among the clatter of copper and nickel, you notice a glint. It is just a quarter, a 2000 South Carolina quarter. You look at it, notice the palmetto tree, shrug, and drop into your pocket. Now, stop right there. What if I told you that in that moment, You could have just made one of the biggest financial mistakes of your life. What if that single, seemingly insignificant piece of pocket change was a ghost, an error of such monumental rarity that it is worth more than a luxury car? You are about to discover why the 2000 South Carolina quarter dollar is the silent assassin of the coin world, hiding in plain sight. Today, we are diving deep into the abyss of numismatic treasure to explore the extreme rarity, the specific and almost mythical error marks, and the staggering potential market value that can reach up to $821,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. This isn't just about collecting. This is about uncovering hidden wealth that has been sitting in your junk drawer. This is the story of the collector versus the spender. The spender sees a quarter. The collector sees a down payment on a dream. The 2000 South Carolina quarter is part of the beloved 50-state quarters program. With over 742 million of these coins minted in Philadelphia alone, they are incredibly common. But within that mountain of metal, there exists a microscopic minority of coins that are not just coins, they're specimens. To understand why this coin is a ghost in the market, we must confront the brutal reality of the minting process. The value of a coin is often a mirage, a fiction created by hype. But what happens when a coin possesses an error so severe that it defies the laws of physics? We are talking about extreme mint errors. We are talking about anomalies like the double-struck pieces, where the coin was struck multiple times by the die, creating a chaotic, layered image. There are also the experimental planchets, where the quarter was accidentally struck on a metal alloy mint for the Sacagawea dollar, giving it a golden, bronzed appearance. These are rare, but they are just the beginning. The true holy grail, the apex predator of the error coin world, is the off-center strike combined with a dual misalignment. Picture this. The planchet is not properly seated and the die slips. The result is a coin where the obverse side, featuring George Washington, is shifted a staggering 8% towards 730, and the reverse side, with the palmetto tree, is shifted 11% in the opposite direction. We're talking about a visual paradox. The coin was struck in a way that not only left a smooth, blank crescent on the edge, but also severely distorted the design. To prove this isn't just an off-center strike, numismatists look for the telltale sign, letters being cut off on the obverse while the reverse letters remain perfectly intact at the rim. Pause for a moment. I want you to reset your attention. Take a second to look down at your pocket or your bag right now. I'm serious. Look at that change. Are you looking? Now, think about this. To the untrained eye, this disfigurement looks like damage, like a beat-up coin that was mangled in a washing machine. That is the beauty of it. That is why these coins slip through the cracks. This is where the spender versus collector dynamic truly plays out. This coin is a literal ghost because the standard population reports don't account for these manufacturing aberrations. While typical mint errors are valued in the hundreds, a dual misaligned, off-strike coin is so rare that it forces auction houses to take notice. Now, let's talk about that number, $821,000. How does a quarter worth 25 cents reach that level of valuation? This is a territory reserved for coins in mint state or proof condition. The absolute highest grade recorded for a standard 2000p South Carolina quarter is MS-69, which sold for thousands. However, the $821,000 figure exists in the stratosphere of error coins. It reflects a specific combination of extreme errors, such as the 25% off-center strikes combined with a dual die misalignment, certified and graded near perfect. We are talking about a coin that has no trace of wear, retaining its original mint luster, but with the chaotic beauty of a catastrophic mint error. The current market heat is palpable. The hunt for these coins is being fueled by the fear of missing out. We are witnessing a renaissance in numismatics driven by the accessibility of information. People are realizing that they can become millionaires overnight just by looking at their spare change. The heart of the resolution is your call to action. The only way to separate the spenders from the collectors is knowledge. Are you looking for a simple double die or a die crack? The South Carolina quarter hasn't yet seen the massive spitting horse die cracks that the Delaware quarter has, but it has something rarer. It has the potential for that devastating dual misalignment. If you find a coin where the edge looks oddly flat, where the rim is incomplete, or where the design seems to have slipped off the edge, do not, I repeat, do not spend it. That is a potential down payment on a house or a new car. Get authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. This is the urgency. In a world where instant gratification is king, you have been handed a mystery that demands your attention. The market is hot, and these coins are only becoming harder to find. We have discussed the terrifying reality of how close you are to hidden wealth. We have uncovered the technical details of the minting errors that turn this coin into a ghost. Now, the only thing left is for you to act. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. The world of high-value coins is filled with such anomalies, and I invite you to join us on this journey. If you found this revelation exciting, stay tuned, because in our next video, we will be uncovering the shocking value of the 1999 Connecticut quarter that could be hiding in your change jar right now. The pursuit of treasure is a marathon, not a sprint. Subscribe and don't miss a single clue. The next fortune you find might just be in your pocket.